The HomeTech podcast is supported by you. To find out more, go to HomeTech.fm/support. This is the HomeTech podcast for Friday, January 3rd, 2020. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson, driving solo today. No Jason Griffin. Jason's out traveling still as part of his holiday break. We're letting him have one off. But I wanted to there's been a couple of stories that have come up over the last couple of days, and I kind of wanted to sit down and record a show. I haven't done one in a couple of weeks because of the holidays and the crazy schedules that we both have had. So figured, why not sit down, record a show, get it out, so at least we have something to listen to. I know that podcasting typically slows down this time of year, and we're no exception. And I get bored kind of waiting for something to come out, and my feed is pretty empty. So I decided, hey, I should not add to this problem of no podcast during the holidays. I should, and repeated episodes. Like I could just, play you guys back a super old episode, the highlights of the last, the decade, right? I could say this is the best of HomeTech for the last decade, but no. We're gonna get some fresh shows out. Want to get something recorded and in the can. So, and there have been a couple of stories that have come up over the last week I wanted to talk about and just haven't had a chance to. So, happy to sit down, record a show. Let's jump into some HomeTech headlines. Sonos has a good reputation for building quality speakers, but its latest move has disappointed some buyers. The outrage is aimed. The internet outrage is aimed at the company's new exchange program, where users put older devices into a, quote, recycling mode, which effectively bricks them at a software level in exchange for a 30% discount on new purchases. We've talked about this in the past. This angered recycling advocates who argued that Sonos is violating the recycling mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle, and bypassing the reuse option. Sonos suggested responsibly recycling equipment that has been bricked as part of its new trade-up program, thus completing the cycle. But this doesn't really make the internet outrage go away. First off, I got a couple of thoughts on this. This is kind of the dumbest. It's slow news week, right? So we get dumb stories like this. This is no exception to the rule. This isn't a mandatory program. So if you care about recycling, you don't need to buy a new product. Just don't buy the new product if you care about reusing them. Just keep using your old product. You don't need to do this if you feel it violates the terms of recycling and you believe in it that much. Don't buy it. It's easy. It also, if you kind of ignore the first mantra there, reduce, which is part of recycling, don't buy a new product. You don't have to. You don't need it, right? Why get angry about reuse if you're ignoring reduce? Just my thoughts there. Or here's another option. You can buy a new product, sell the old on eBay. You probably get better than 30% return on that too. For Sonos and its part, they said that 92% of their products they've ever sold, even those launched more than over 10 years ago, which is part of this trade-up program, are still in use today. That's incredible. 92%. I joked a couple of weeks ago that they were doing this to brick their products that don't brick themselves because they just never die. This pretty much shows you that 92% of the products they've ever sold are still in use today. That is incredible. I can't think of another piece of technology I've had in use that long at all. Maybe a refrigerator? I don't know. I just had one die the other day, so I guess that the Sonos is still kicking, and I guess there you go. To me, this is a clear incentive to sell more product. Sonos is a publicly traded company. This is a marketing angle to this, but also I think this is a big, spray painted writing on the wall, Banksy edition, right? That something new is coming. Sonos wants to get rid of this older device support and be able to move on to whatever new platform that they have. And this may just be kind of internally. Now, they've supported these old products, these old 10-year-old products with firmware updates that have brought them up to date. Now, you can't use new features that require more horsepower under the hood, like AirPlay 2 and that kind of thing with their older products, which you can with the new products. And I suspect that Sonos kind of wants to move to whatever new platform they develop that has that more horsepower, that it gives them the ability to introduce more features without leaving their older products in the dust. So I think this is kind of like writing on the wall. There's something, device support is going to be like dropped off or something at some point within the next year or two where you won't be able to utilize these older Sonos products the same way that you had, or something new comes out and these don't get it. Just like AirPlay 2, right? You can't use AirPlay 2 on these devices because you need a new one. In more strange news, again, it's been a couple of slow news weeks, so people have kind of rolled out some crazy stories. A security researcher has found several vulnerabilities in a number of Ruckus wireless routers, shocking the tech community who didn't realize that Ruckus even made routers. Because they don't. They make access points. Gal Zorar, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, sir, told TechCrunch that the vulnerabilities he found lie inside the web user interface software that runs on the company's unleashed lines of wireless access points. The flaws can be exploited without needing a password and can be used to take complete control of affected access points and controllers if they are exposed to the internet, which would be horrible security practice for any Ruckus engineer out there who knows how to set up a Ruckus system. Again, my commentary being tacked onto this. Ruckus told TechCrunch it fixed the vulnerabilities in a previous software update, but said customers have to update their vulnerable devices themselves. As a quote, "By design, our devices do not fetch and install software automatically to ensure customers can manage their networks appropriately." This came from a Ruckus spokesperson. And, I think Ruckus is used mostly in commercial settings and maybe some bigger homes. But the simple fact of the matter is that those environments, you may not want to have a patch pushed out onto your production hardware because you aren't the customer for that. Like if this was a Linksys router or something and they pushed out a security patch, you may be thankful for that. But if it made your Linksys router stop working, they might be able to push something else out that fixes it. In this case, if there was a problem with whatever patch they made, it made some bug or some configuration changes that you didn't want to have happen in your enterprise situation, that could lead to a bunch of other issues. So, Ruckus, I think, has done the right thing. This has already been fixed, but because they don't have the automatic patch, there's still a bunch of these devices out there. So if you do manage any Ruckus networks, you probably already know about this, but go ahead and get these updated so you don't have these remote code execution and vulnerabilities things that exist in the older software. Ring and Amazon have come under fire in recent weeks due to the rise of incidents which hackers gained control of a Ring's user security camera and even up in some situations began to speak through it. We have talked about these in the past, but right before the holiday, we saw a number of these stories hit, including some kind of shocking ones where someone claimed that their Ring camera was hacked and some weirdo was talking to their daughter in their room, kind of trying to. I saw one that said that there was a $400,000 Bitcoin extortion plot attached to one of them. There's a bunch of these like scary stories that came out revolving around Rings specifically right before the holiday. But what ended up coming out of those is that people had bad passwords, or they had good passwords that they reused for the Ring website, and those passwords get leaked out somewhere else. And, it's the same password. You get your email address, you get a password, put them together. If you use them on two different sites, one of them gets hacked. Well, guess what? Somebody else can come along and try it on site number 2, and they're into your account. Now a class action lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court of the Central District of California targeting Amazon and Ring's alleged negligence in regard to security practices has been filed. The lawsuit holds Ring responsible for damages due to negligence, invasion of privacy, breach of implied warranty, breach of implied contract, unjust enrichment, and unfair competition. After the rise in hackings, Ring released a statement saying the incidents were in no way related to the breach or compromise of the company's security. Instead, it blamed security breaches on poor password practices and the lack of utilizing two-factor authentication. Now, I know before, I think still now, Ring doesn't require you to have two-factor authentication, which I think is a good default. Like, you can have a strong password. You can use a password manager. Jason and I have, over the years, highly recommended this. If you're not using a password manager right now, get LastPass or 1Password. Both of those are great programs. They install on your phone, they install in your web browser, and have it go around and just every website you come to, starting at the beginning of the year. This is a good New Year's resolution, right? Start using that password manager. It seems like such a pain to do and set up at first, but once you start using it, I don't know how to live without it. Like, I don't know any of my passwords to any website I go to. I know they are huge, long strings of random numbers, letters, digits, and symbols, and I have no idea what they are. But they go in, I type in my 1Password, it spits out the password and my username and automatically fills it in on every website. On my phone, it works with Face ID. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. So once you start using a password manager, you never go back. And I suggest that anybody out there, you're listening, you haven't decided, if you're listening to this show, I know you know that you need it. Go out there, get it. Start using it. Trust me, it will make your life a lot easier, especially if you're a dealer and like you have all these websites you have to go to buy things. And you have these really horrible passwords, like, password 1234 or monkey one or whatever. Those are pretty bad. And if somebody gets into your account, on some kind of distributor account or something like that, you may never know. But they could be able to use those passwords elsewhere as well. So give that a thought. Good passwords are a good thing. In Ring's case, there was tooling that was made explicitly to exploit Ring devices on the dark web. This stuff started popping up, and basically it allowed any amateur who had a list of usernames, in this case emails, right? Everybody uses their email these days as a username and a password to bulk attack Ring's website and get into the devices if they had reused a password. So unique passwords, every website. You should never know what your password is for a website, and make sure that they're all strong. On December 27th, smart camera maker Wyze announced on their community forum that it was confirming allegations of a massive data breach that was exposed by a reporter for IPVM.com the day before. The breach exposed user data for 2.4 million Wyze users, or accounts in this case, including customer emails, camera nicknames, Wi-Fi SSIDs, device information, and the personal health data of about 140 product beta testers, and also limited tokens associated with Amazon Alexa integrations. According to Wyze, this data was exposed publicly by a misconfigured database from December 4th through December 26th, when the problem was discovered. According to Wyze, no billing data, like credit card numbers or sensitive passwords, were exposed in this breach. Wyze followed up with a number of posts explaining what they're doing to protect user data moving forward, along with other mitigations that they have implemented to improve security, including partner with third-party auditing firm. Even though passwords were not part of this leak, Wyze is recommending changing passwords and implementing two-factor authentication. And unfortunately, the way they've done their two-factor authentication, it's not available for international customers. So I think they're using the SMS two-factor authentication. And while that's an okay authentication, it is not the best two-factor. So if you have the option to use anything other than SMS, like Google Authenticator or something like that for your two-factor, I'd recommend using that. I do not like SMS because it's been shown pretty much that anybody can call up AT&T or whatever and take over your cell phone. And then if they take over your cell phone, an SMS or a text going to your cell phone is going to go to them, and they can, reset your account and do all sorts of fun stuff if they have that two-factor authentication, pretty much before you even know what's going on. So yeah, two-factor authentication, SMS isn't the greatest. It looks like Wyze knows that, and they're going to go ahead and set that up. I will say this is kind of one of those stories. I don't fault Wyze here. I think Wyze, they made a mistake, and humans are behind these companies. And humans make mistakes, right? I've sure made plenty of them in my days. So that's not a big deal. I think Wyze responded appropriately. We're talking the day after Christmas holiday, right? That they found out about this, and the next day they announced it and said it was patched. So, okay, that's excellent response time, especially when your team is probably all at home with their families, opening presents or sitting around doing nothing. That is extremely well received from me. What I don't like is how this reporter or security research firm basically exposed this information without reporting it responsibly. I think they should have responsibly disclosed it to Wyze, saw what they did. If they had told Wyze, look, you guys have had a database open. You guys need to do something about it. I think Wyze would have gotten on that and fixed the problem before anybody noticed. Instead, they published this irresponsibly, allowing the data basically to be downloaded and parsed through. That's how we know all this information is out there. 2.4 million accounts are exposed. Man, I really wish if they find I really wish they wouldn't do this kind of thing. It gets the headline. It gets us to go over to their website and check out what's going on there. But this is not done right. So I really wish that they had handled this differently for the sake of the wise customers out there, because now the data is out and it's been released. They have all the email addresses, which is not good. So let's talk about some good news. I ran across this a couple of weeks back. A technology company called WiCharge, W-I-Charge, I guess it may be Y-Charge, is touting a new wireless charging standard ahead of CES. The company claims its new AirCore technology will make it into smart home devices in the future, allowing them to be powered from up to 30 feet away from a transmitter. Details on exactly how the technology works are limited, but the Nest thermostat-sized power puck, as it's called, uses infrared to broadcast power to receiving devices. Kind of interesting, infrared. So it implies to me that you're going to have a line of sight from the transmitter to the receiver. Receivers are small and potentially could be embedded directly into devices like cell phones. And I've even on their website, they have Google Home power supplies that you can kind of attach onto a Google Home. Kind of interesting. The company claims that this is completely safe for consumer use. Of course it is. It's infrared. It comes from the sun, so it's definitely completely safe. Curious to how this works ahead of CES. I noticed if you go to their website, you can see some of the technology partners they have. Alarm.com is on there. And I think you think about powering your cell phone with something like this, but think about, instead of big devices like that have decent power requirements, think about like a security motion detector or security contact sensor. Those types of devices use very little power at all. And if they had like little small rechargeable batteries built inside of them, they could potentially receive this infrared signal that turns into power and kind of trickle charges them all the time. So I think that's really cool. It may, who knows, it may make it into your phone, and you can just kind of like have your phone out sitting on your desk or anywhere in the house that had this, signal going to it. The company, if you go to the website, they have like in-ceiling broadcasting devices. So it kind of like, think of a light fixture that had this built into it. That light fixture would be, exposed. If your phone's kind of sitting on your coffee table or sitting on the couch next to you, it would be receiving that signal and converting it into power. Maybe not like a fast charging. This is very low wattage from what I was seeing on here, but at least it's enough to kind of trickle charge and, at least keep the battery up and going on your phone and those kind of devices. But I think the bigger use would be for IoT type devices that like security sensors and that kind of thing. And I'm encouraged to see Alarm.com being on their partner page, because it indicates that they're possibly looking into developing a product line around that too. All the links and topics we've discussed can be found on our show notes at HomeTech.fm/285. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter, which includes even further analysis, as well as other industry news that may have not made the show. Again, the link is HomeTech.fm/285. Don't forget, you can join us usually in the chat room live on Wednesday, starting 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find out more about that at HomeTech.fm/live. Nothing in the mailbox this week, but I do have a pick of the week. This is kind of funny. Comes from friend of the show, Cody Crossland. This is Uncle Rob's Tech Tips. It's an imager video where he is resetting giving some tech tips on how to reset a Comcast cable modem. And from my general experience with Comcast recently, I kind of like his advice. So if you want to go check out that video, I'll put the link over in the show notes at HomeTech.fm/285. If you have any feedbacks, questions, comments, picks of the week, or great ideas for the show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out that online form. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show by listening, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know our Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day for inside baseball conversations about all aspects of home technology. If you want to help out, but you can't support the show financially, we'd appreciate a 5-star rating on iTunes or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. 5 stars, that's what we're aiming for. And one more thing, HomeTech is a proud member of the Technology.fm collective of podcasts. You can find other great shows like Home On, The Smart Home Show, and DTNS over there at technology.fm. Pretty cool place. Go check it out. That wraps up this week. I hope everybody is having a great decade so far. We'll be back. Should be back in the saddle next week with Jason as our travel plans kind of level out after the holiday and New Year here. Hope everybody is having a great 2020, like I said, and we'll talk to you next week.